Steve Zeltzer with KPFA, WorkWeek Radio Pacifica, and also LaborNet, and I'm with
Tamara Velázquez from Cuba. I'm information director for the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the People.
And this is a IGF, Internet Global Forum, and there are people from all over the world talking about the Internet, how it's affecting people, and the future of the Internet, the issues of democracy and working people, minorities. How are your views? What are your views towards the Internet and issues for the people of Cuba and the people of the world with the Internet?
Well, in our country we have the policy to use Internet mostly for social purpose. Is what we are trying to develop there. For example, we have big networks in public health, education, and it's a whole process about the informatization of the society to trying to get closer to the internet technologies to our society, but for good purposes related with the development of the country and also for share the good values of the Cuban people. I mean, friendship, solidarity, and this kind of thing that we are sharing in the real networks, not only in internet, for the whole revolution time.
And a lot of capitalist companies, Google and other companies, want to use the internet to make more profits. And like healthcare, they want to use the internet so they can make more profit on healthcare. What is the Cuban government, the Cuban people have helped people with healthcare around the world tremendously. In fact, in the United States, you offered to help people many times with their healthcare. How do you see the internet for people and not for profit?
Well, the internet for people is mostly about improve people capacity to be connected with the world. And as I told you, for example, in our country, we have the vision to the first stuff is not just connectivity, but to teach people to use that resource for good, in a way that they can improve the life of the people. For example, we have been developed networks for the Cuban doctors all around the world, which are in humanitarian missions, helping people there. Also, we have important network inside of Cuba, is named Infomed, which connected all the public, the health installations, and allowed to these professionals related with public health to be in touch with the technical resources and information that they need for they develop as professional. And it's a way to put these resources in a place where they can get it, because many websites and other internet tools are forbidden for Cuban for the blockade law.
Now, the United States talks about democracy, the U.S. government. We're for democracy and we're for communication. How has the blockade of Cuba affected your ability to develop internet technology and communication?
As I told you before, first off, if we have a serious trouble to get the technology for improve our networks inside of Cuba, because it's expensive, it's mostly related with the U.S. companies, and the blockade laws forbidden that companies to to make business with us, even when they have changed by executive orders by the President Obama. But in fact, the fact is that, for example, the transactions in US dollars are forbidden for us, even when the executive order says that they can do it. But there is another law who says the other things. So the banks are afraid to have to get punished for it. That and the companies, which one wants to have business. So in fact, we can even we didn't have made any transaction in dollars because it's not possible yet. And that's one. And for the others, as I told you, there's many technologies in internet that we are not allowed to use. For example, our programmers, people who write codes and develop applications and software cannot get access to Google Store or App Store. For me, I'm a graphic designer. I cannot use Flash Player, which is a basic plugin for.
So you're prevented from using this technology. Even though you're willing to pay for it, they're not going to allow you.
Not only for the Cubans, but also for people who try to get access for those tools from Cuba. No matter if you are Cuban or not, you are connected from Cuba, so you are not allowed to use it.
So that's inhibiting your development if you can't use these tools that every place else can.
And also is a barrier, is a problem, because like that the whole world cannot know which stuff are people doing in Cuba. And there is plenty websites in internet that we cannot get access to.
Now, the United States has had a blockade against Cuba, and says that they want to bring democracy to Cuba. At the same time, the United States does not have a blockade of China. Do you think that there's a contradiction of U.S. policy between Cuba and other countries?
You know, we have the largest blockade, I think, in the history of the humanity. More than 50 years. For more than 50 years, we have been under the blockade. I mean, our view about democracy is something that is only a problem is a matter for the Cuban people. So I don't think that the United States is allowed to tell us how should be our democracy or how we decide to which country we really want. In 2014, in December 17, when our President Raúl Castro and President Obama told the whole world that we were working for restore diplomatic relationships. The first things that the U.S. government recognizes that it was that the blockade was useless. That in more than 50 years they cannot surrender the Cuban people by hunger or by disease or by economic problems. But the thing is that these have been affected are developed in the country. If we will, all the achievement that we have in the social area will be greater. We will be bigger if we were a country without the blockade, the U.S. blockade.
Why is the United States so afraid of Cuba? I mean, Cuba is a little island. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of people. And yet, in this giant colossus, the United States, which really runs the whole world, they run Mexico, they own all the companies. What are they afraid of in Cuba?
That's a pretty long story, because it doesn't even started at the in 1959 when the revolutions began. It started back into the 18th century when you were even the 13 colonies. So during our whole history, the United States has been trying to have Cuba under his under as a colony, or maybe there were another proposals like Puerto Rico, but in fact is a colony state. That was the idea, to have Cuba as a colony state.
And the Cuban people did not accept that.
Yes, the Cuban people did not accept it, never accepted, and we have many revolutionary struggles in our whole history, and people telling no to the United States. So it's not only a problem with the revolution, but in fact the thing that we have a socialist revolution in front of the biggest country, which is the flag of the capitalists, for sure is something that that disturb the U.S. government. But I think it's not afraid. Afraid is more like we heard they proud.
And they're afraid that other countries that are colonies of the United States might say, we like what Cuba's doing. I mean, now in Puerto Rico right now, Puerto Rico is a colony. There's mass unemployment. They're cutting Social Security, social benefits, health care. They privatized the health care in Puerto Rico, and many Puerto Ricans are leaving the country because they can't survive. They're privatizing education, making charters. Is that what happens to colonies of the United States?
Okay. We have a pretty special relationship with the people of Puerto Rico. We have been supported their independence struggle for a very long time. Even our national hero thought that when we get the Cuban independence, we will fight for Puerto Rico after to help them to get free. So Cuba's country and our government, our people have been supporting Puerto Rico's struggle. It's not only for I think it's not only for peoples which are on the colony status from under United States colony status, also for people which are under the neoliberal measures, is related with the system. For sure, in the Puerto Rico case is hardest because they are. It's not this stuff are not decided by the Puerto Rican people only.
Well, the Bootstrap was a program for a free trade zone in Puerto Rico, and that was the first foreign export zone, free trade zone of the United States in Puerto Rico. That was supposed to help the economy of Puerto Rico and make Puerto Rico a good economy. It seems like the economic policy in Puerto Rico by the United States has actually worsened the situation for the people of Puerto Rico. They're in extreme poverty. They're having a lot of problems. and the same in the Philippines, which was a colony of the United States. It seems like these colonies of the United States, far from helping people, have actually made things worse for the regular people.
Okay, I'm not a specialist on the matter. So, as I told you, I think it's a problem, a system problem.
It's a system problem.
So, she cannot get social benefits with laws that are thinking for make people richer in one way and taking taking money or taking
Well,
from the others one.
well, an example. I mean, the people of Puerto Rico do not have free health care. They do not have free education. In Cuba, you have free education.
We have free education.
I mean, so Cuba, even though it's isolated and there's a blockade, you seem to be able to have benefits for your people that even in Puerto Rico, which is right next door, they don't have.
Yeah, but that's because we are socialists. So we distribute our resources for help the people. The first stuff in Cuba is the social uses for the things. For example, for internet. As I told you, all our universities are connected, all our public health centers are connected. Doctors have access from their houses or from the libraries or from the offices and medical centers. And it's the same for education. All the schools are connected. The investigation centers, the people who need that resource for work, is mainly, and for sure, we have commercial use for that resource too. But the money that commercial use produces is reinverted into develop the country and to get more resources for social purpose.
So your development is not based on more profits for the multinationals.
No, for sure not.
What is this paper about, and what is it? The stories in this paper?
There is plenty stories there, like well, it was growth from friends of Cuba. From Latin America, it's Resumen Latinoamericana, and it's a special edition dedicated to the blockade against Cuba, the U.S. blockade against Cuba.
It says the blockade is a crime against humanity.
Yes, how the Cubans defeated blockade around this story. Why we are the exclusive enemy of the United States, says the title. And I think that I really value of this is we have street interviews with Cubans about the views of living under blockade, because most of the people of Cuba have been born under the blockade.
That's all they know, a blockade.
That's all they know. And there is in those interviews there is one that is really related with these things of internet and technology development. Is a young man named Liober Rodriguez. He is a gamer designer. He worked doing educational video games, designing educational video games, and he is telling the people how the U.S. blockade affected the technology area, the people who needs internet resources for doing his job. And in the other one, we have an update from Josefina Vidal. She's the head of the U.S. Department at MINRES, international affairs minister, and it will be great if many people can read it, because we have really removing sentimental
strong feeling around children and protection of children. Now,
like, for example, how the blockade is affecting the health of the Cuban children.
and in the United States, there are many poor children. Children who are in poverty, high degree, homeless children. What do you think about the fact that in the richest country of the world, children live in poverty and children are homeless in the United States?
I think it's, many people is doing many things for reduce poverty, but it's not to do it like charity. It's to do it in a way that everybody has equal opportunities. Equal opportunity means free education, free public health, to get access to a life in dignity.
So this is a basic right, not by charity. It's a basic human right.
Basic human right. And I think that it couldn't be resolved with charity or small things.
Well, that's what
We have to, is more about to change the system and the way we prepare people for their life. We guarantee their human rights, their basic human rights, because right now, when we are talking about to connect the whole world to the whole people getting access to internet, I mean that is something important, because it's about to develop tools that can provide solutions and also help people with the technology, which is the main reason you have to put the technology for the people and not the people for the technology.
well in California.
But sometimes I think that people forget that there are other stuff that are really on the basis, like those human rights that we were talking about, and you have to guarantee this before to get those people connected.
Well, in California, where we're based in San Francisco, you have many of these tech companies that make billions, trillions of dollars, and yet they don't pay any taxes. So young people in California, when they go to college, they have to go into debt. They have to go into debt. So they owe thousands of dollars when they get out of college. And also, privatization of education, young people have to pay more and more money to go to school. So these companies that are here at the IGF, Google, Facebook, Oracle, these big companies make billions of dollars. Yet sometimes they give charity out, but they don't pay taxes so that education is free in California. So you're saying in Cuba, it's the opposite.
Yes, it's the opposite. Most of the whole resource,
Wealth of the country.
yes, Producto Interno Bruto, I don't know which is the measure for you there, is more than 50% goes back to social purpose.
So 50% of your gross national product goes to social needs of the people.
It's significant.
More than
You have the whole society working for develop the society.
I think more than 50% in the United States goes to the military to protect democracy around the world.
I'm not talking about it.
Well, I mean, democracy, you need 700 bases around the world to protect democracy. Now, you are interested in developing technology and internet for community. And do you have your programs, educational programs? Are you using multimedia and video? Can you talk about that?
Well, In fact, I'm not the very one for talk about it. We have friends here, which is, in fact, there is one that is the chairman for the enterprise who produced those software. So that will be
Now, last point.
very explaining from him. But in produce of this software, we have multidisciplinary groups of professionals with we have teachers, programmers, psychologists, sociologists, the whole team working for better software education, and is a humanist education. It's for make people better as a person, and I recommend most of them. I think there are plenty of them that are only in Spanish, but for sure we have this website. The name is Cuba Educa, and there you can find our
Achievements.
our achievement in that area.
Now, we have a new president, President Trump, and he is very bellicose, attacking China, attacking African Americans, attacking Latinos, attacking immigrants, and he also is attacking Cuba now, saying that Cuba has to change, and Trump is going to bring change to Cuba. What do you think about the election of Trump and what it may mean for the people of Cuba?
Well, for the people of Cuba, it's just the same. We will continue demanding the end of the U.S. blockade against our people. We will continue demanding to get the territory that is occupied, illegally occupied for the
Guantanamo. Doesn't that belong to the United States?
No, it does not belong to the United States. It was took it in the worst way from us.
So this land, Guantanamo, was actually stolen from the people of Cuba? Taken from...
I mean, it's illegally. It was something that happened back in the 90s, in the early days in the 90s.
So it really doesn't belong to the United States?
No, it doesn't belong to the United States. It belongs to Cuba. How is possible that the territory in Guantanamo belongs to the United States? We are.
Isn't that divine right? I mean, the United States thinks they own oil in Iraq. They think they own the world. Isn't that the way they think?
So we just will see what happens with Donald Trump. We really hope that that he's not making step backs, because it's really important for us to have respectful relations with the U.S. government, and I think it's the same for the United States governments. But our position is just the same. We have nothing to negotiate. We have we didn't blockade the U.S. government or the the United States. We didn't have a military base on the United States territory, and we don't tell to the United States government how to run his country. So that is why we will see what happens.
You're not going to be bullied by President Trump.
Tell Cubans how to do it. Only the Cubans know how to do it. And that was the main issues with us. We decided what to do with our country, and it will continue like that.
So Trump is not going to make you change your mind about what you have to do?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you. And how can people get in touch with your organization?
We have a website. It's www.icap.cu, Also, you can find us in Facebook, and WordPress, and Flickr, and YouTube, and Google Plus, and Twitter as Siempre con Cuba.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you to you. It was a pleasure.